We have the sources of contamination of milk. The sources of contamination of milk are very sources of contamination of milk by bacteria. The milk and milk products get contaminated at different stages as the milking process, storage, transport, and production of milk products. The some common activities and sources of contamination are the milking animal. There are several principal sources of contamination of milk. For from the time the milk leaves the udders until it is dispensed into containers, everything which is in which it comes in contact is a potential source of more microorganisms. Milking performed under hygienic conditions with strict attention to sanitary practice will reduce the entry of microorganisms in the milk. The sources of contamination is the producing animal itself. First source of contamination is the producing animal itself, then milking area, then utensils or equipments used for milking purpose, then the personals or the human beings that are handling the milk, then we have water as a major source of contamination and surrounding of the organism. Then insects, reptiles are the sources of contamination. So we'll discuss the first, that is producing animal. The animal, especially the exterior of the udders and teats, add microorganisms from different sources, particularly the manure, soil, and water. Washing the udders and teats with clean water or germicidal solution before milking is essential to control microorganisms from these sources. Using of milking machine, its regular cleaning and sanitization reduces the contamination from these sources. The producing animal, unless the producing animal is clean and her flex, udders, and teats given special sanitary care just before milking, her body can be a source of considerable contamination. The first few streams of milk from each teat should be collected separately and discarded. This flushes out the organisms that have entered the teats through the teat openings. Milk from the cow with an infected udder is likely to contain large number of microorganisms. The probability of disease of the udders contaminating the milk is very high. Mastitis, which is a disease causing inflammation of udders, contributes considerable number of microorganisms, sometimes even blood cells, into the milk. If all the milk is not drawn out of the udder but remains between milking, it may spoil within the udders itself and thus increase the count considerably. Washing and massaging of cow udders with the warm detergent sanitizer solution before milking serves to clean the area. The hair of all animal harbors organisms. The hair, dirt, and dust often fall from the body into the milking pails or the teats cup of milking machine. The modern practice is to keep the flanks clipped to minimize contamination. The milking area is the next source of contamination. The microbial content of air is greatly affected by many conditions and practice. Dried dirt and fleet is picked up by air movement and carried about as dust in the atmosphere. For this reason, dust may be the source of almost every kind of contamination. The spray, which are sometimes used to cut down air contamination, are not very useful. However, the main point of keeping the conditions clean and sanitary is not to raise dust. The atmosphere in which the milking process, storage, and production is conducted should be free from microorganisms. Clean and cold storage is also essential to avoid the growth of pre-existing microorganisms. Proper drainage and cleaning of barnyards minimizes the rate of contamination. Sanitization of product filling and processing rooms also prevents the contamination of microorganisms. The next is the utensils that are used. Utensils and equipments that are used for milking purpose. The pails, cans, other dairy utensils, and collection tanks are of common are the common source of contamination. Milk contains milk contact surfaces, pipelines, vats, tanks, pumps, valves, separators, clarifiers, homogenizers, coolers, strainers, stirrers, and bottle fillers may serve as possible source of bacteria. Regular washing, disinfection, and drying of these sources is very essential to control microorganisms in milk. In addition to these, polyethylene bags, glass bottles, and packaging material for milk products are also the important source of contamination of milk and milk products. Utensils and equipments that are used, organisms survive in the cracks, corners, or curves, dents, stretches, and other irregularities in the utensils. Such neglect affords ideal condition for the growth of microorganisms before the utensil is being used. Suitable washing procedures are facilitated by using warm water, a brush, and detergent satisfactory to the hardness of the local water used. For cleaning, subsequent sanitizing treatment may utilize hot air, hot water, steam, chlorines, and quaternary ammonium compounds. The next is the humans or personals who are handling the milk itself. All persons involved in milking process must be in good health and must be careful in their personal cleanliness. They should wash their hands, clean and rinse them with an effective bactericidal solution, and dry them with a clean towel before starting and frequently during work and immediately following every rest stop. They should keep fingernails free from dirt. Each person must always carry a clean handkerchief and use it to prevent spraying of nasal and oral discharges into the atmosphere. Equipments and products. They should wear a neat and clean uniform. A surgical mask is an effective addition to the uniform. Although workers may not contribute a large number of organisms, these are the these are of considerable importance since they may well be human pathogens. Probably the majority of milk-borne epidemics of disease were started by workers who are carriers or who are mild cases and who are in close contact with others so affected. The importance of contamination contributed by workers is simply that it is the most dangerous as if they may carry pathogens. The workers or humans, the possible source of contamination are the hands and arms of the milkman, milkmaid, distributors, and other workers in the dairy. All these persons should be clean and healthy unless they may add different pathogens in the milk and dairy products. Next source or important source of contamination is water. Water is continuously required in cleaning and processing operations in the dairy industry. Special care of or treatment must be taken to supply good quality water. Water quality will vary with the source of supply. Water from surface supply is contaminated by dust, animals, plants, peoples, and other agents. The microbial quality of water is tested before it is used in the dairy plant. The most common test for water destined for domestic and industrial use is the presumptive polyform test. This test reveals fecal or sewage contamination. Chlorination of water is commonly practiced to assure potability of water. Water is used for cleaning utensils, storage tanks, pipelines, and other implemented utensils. It is also used for during the process of the product. The microbiological quality of water must be good so that it should not add microorganisms in milk or milk products. The next source of contamination is fleas, flies, or insects and reptiles. The insects such as fleas, flies, ants, gadflies, grasshoppers, mosquitoes may add different type of microorganisms in milk and its product. The reptiles like lizards may act as source of contamination of microorganisms as well as intoxication. Hence, care must be taken to avoid the contamination and growth of microorganisms at each step, starting from milk